Have you ever wondered why people cling so fiercely to the shadows of your past? It's a question that quietly nudges at the boundaries of our consciousness, a mystery wrapped in the complex narrative of human relationships. As we tread the path of personal growth, shedding the skins of who we once were, it can be unsettling to find that others sometimes tug relentlessly at those old ghosts, demanding they remain part of your story. Why is it that the very evolution we cherish can cause discomfort in those who haven't yet faced their own inner landscapes? Picture this. You're like a river, flowing ever onward, reshaping your banks, your depths, your direction. Yet, there are those who stand upon the shore, pointing to a section of your stream that has long since dried up or changed course. Their fingers trace the outlines of what you once were, as if the promise of transformation threatens the stability of the world they've constructed, a world perhaps built on unexamined certainties. Have you felt it? That heavy weight of judgment, the murky expectation that you stay tethered to a version of yourself that no longer exists? In our pursuit of growth, change becomes our companion, albeit an unpredictable one. It's a courageous ascent towards authenticity, yet this very journey can disrupt the familiar safety others find in the static images of who we've been. It's not uncommon for people to use your past as a tool of their own making, a way to anchor their perception of you while forestalling their confrontation with personal truths. Are they preserving a sense of comfort and control in doing so? Consider those moments when your past is replayed like an old song, out of tune with the new melody you're striving to compose. These echoes can feel imprisoning, as if your past areas must unfailingly define your newest symphonies. But why do some insist on defining you by this outdated scorecard? Perhaps it's easier for them to maintain the status quo, a safety net woven from the threads of nostalgia and the avoidance of their uneasy introspections. Each time someone dwells on your history, it's as if they're holding a mirror, but not towards you. Instead, they unknowingly hold it to themselves. They see in your transformation a reflection of their unexamined corners, their untouched potential, their unspoken fears. Why delve into one's vulnerabilities when it's less threatening to examine another's? So they craft narratives from your yesterdays, cloaking their discomfort in tales of "remember when." And yet, this very act of replaying your past can tug at your growth like unseen currents beneath a serene surface. How challenging it can be to navigate forward when those around you insist on rowing toward yesterday's shores. To grow, perhaps, is to learn how to steer not only through your own resistance, but also through the resistance others place in your way. For who is untouched by the judgment of those they care about, or even of strangers who think they know your story? What choices, then, do we have? How do we continue our evolution when our past is persistently scrutinized by those unwilling or unable to embrace their own transformations? Reflect on this. The true act of maturity may lie in recognizing others' reactions as mere projections of their own trials. It may be in offering empathy, silently encouraging them to step onto their own path of growth, hoping they too might one day embrace the beauty of change rather than shy away from it. Through this awareness, let your past be what it is, a chapter in the expansive book that is you. Acknowledge that the criticisms, the doubts cast your way are vibrant threads in a shared human tapestry. But remember, keep stitching your narrative forward, savoring the colors and textures only growth brings. Share your newfound wisdom, but do not allow yourself to become entangled in the patches of your history that no longer fit. The journey isn't solely about where you've been, but where you're going. A truth known only to you. Let those who see only your history continue their own journey of discovery as you remain committed to the unending wonder of becoming. For isn't that the secret, the very essence of life? to continually evolve, to greet change as an old friend, and to inspire others to notice the mirrored invitations of their own reflection. Perhaps our task is to live as best we can, inviting others not only to reason through their reluctance, but also to understand. The past is a path, not a prison. If growth is your goal, let it be one marked by love, patience, and the audacity to redefine what it truly means to be free. And so, as we ponder who we are becoming, let us ask, whose reality shapes yours, and why do we allow it to be so? This, perhaps, is the freedom found in the dance of growth, the understanding that it is our evolution, not our history, that breathes life into the present. Think for a moment about how often others wield your past like a weapon. It's a common device. Someone dredges up an old mistake or a former self, parading it as though you've never changed, never grown beyond it. This manipulation, cloaked in the guise of reminding or helping you grow, reveals much about human relationships and power dynamics. But why do people so often reach for the past to anchor you down? Psychologically, humans are creatures of habit, preferring the predictable to the unknown. This longing for certainty can lead some to latch onto past events or behaviors because they provide a familiar narrative. When someone references your past, it might be less about you and more about their need to make sense of a changing world. It's easier to rest in what's known than to navigate the ever-shifting complexities of human growth and transformation. Consider Sarah, who once struggled with anger issues in her early 20s. A hot temper and a sharp tongue led to several fraught relationships. Fast forward a decade, and Sarah has carved out a life characterized by peace and empathy, having invested heavily in therapy and self-reflection. Yet, at a family gathering, an old friend, with a smile that barely masks her jealousy, jokes, "At least this time you didn't yell at anyone, right?" This is a perfect illustration of how people use the past to anchor someone in a familiar narrative. The friend's comment exposes her reluctance to see Sarah's growth. It's an act of control wrapped in humor, an attempt to keep Sarah tethered to a role she has long outgrown. Why do people do this? Often, it's a subconscious attempt to assert dominance or soothe insecurity. By placing you in a familiar role, they momentarily quell their own fears of change and uncertainty. If Sarah is still the angry one, then everyone else knows their place in the hierarchy of their relationships. It's a method of maintaining control over their environment and themselves, a reassurance that the world isn't changing faster than they can handle. Consider another example, Mark, who had a rough patch in his career, struggling with unemployment and the resultant financial strain. Even after landing a stable job and rebuilding his life, Mark finds his acquaintances referencing that difficult time, almost as if his success today puzzles them. "Remember when we had to spot you for dinner? Crazy times, huh?" they'd say, as if holding him perpetually at that low point provides some strange reinforcement of their own stability. These stories are familiar, yet what's crucial is learning how to transcend such manipulations and maintain your peace. First, recognize the pattern. When someone cites your past, ask yourself, is it a genuine attempt to understand or a subtle way of pinning you? Respond with clarity. You might say, "That was indeed a challenging time. I've learned a lot since then." Such a reply honors your journey, acknowledges your growth, and subtly calls out the other person's attempt to confine you. It's not about denying your past, but reframing it as a stepping stone rather than a shackle. Furthermore, practice forgiveness, not just for those who would tether you to your past, but more importantly, for yourself. Accepting your previous faults and limitations and recognizing the immense strides you've made often enables you to cultivate a sense of inner peace that is unwavering despite external judgments. Another practical strategy is self-reflection. Carve out moments regularly to contemplate the changes you've undergone. Documenting your journey helps solidify your self-awareness and counters those attempts to reduce you back to a single snapshot of your life. Reflect. Who were you? Who are you now? And who are you becoming? These questions are like the gentle yet persistent chiseling of a stone sculptor, steadily revealing the contours and features of your ever-evolving self. Why allow past narratives to hold sway when you possess the power to rewrite them? Understand that you are not obligated to confine yourself to someone else's limited understanding of your story. Life is an ongoing testament to your capacity for growth and change, a reminder that you are not anchored to your past unless you, yourself, fasten the chain. So, next time someone raises the specter of your past, look them in the eye with newfound wisdom. Smile, perhaps, at the naivety or simplicity of their perspective, knowing that while they may choose to walk in the shadows of yesteryear, you, boundless being, continually transformed, walk resolutely towards the dawn. When we consider personal growth, a mosaic of perspectives emerges, each piece reflecting a different aspect of what it means to evolve. It's tempting to think of growth in purely linear terms, as if we're scaling a mountain with a clear peak. But what if growth is less about reaching a summit and more about understanding the terrain itself? Picture your life as a vast, intricate landscape. Every choice you make, every experience you endure, shapes the contours of this landscape, adding depth and dimension. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a path you've never walked before. Your heart thrums with the excitement of possibility, yet tethered to your heels is the weight of the past. Those voices, sometimes your own, whisper caution, reminding you of who you've been and who, perhaps, you should continue to be. Have you ever wondered why these echoes hold such sway over your actions? This brings us to the exploration of different perspectives on personal growth. It's not uncommon to encounter those who believe your story should remain tethered to its first chapters. They might see your past missteps as immutable truths or your earliest choices as definitive forecasts of your potential. Yet, while acknowledging our history is vital, allowing it to dictate our future is not. Enter the Stoics, with their ancient wisdom echoing through the ages like a calm breeze in tumultuous times. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the present moment, to recognize the impermanence of all things, our fears, our failures, and indeed, our successes. Imagine holding a broken piece of pottery. The Stoics would not have you mourn its past form, but instead recognize its transformation as part of a larger cycle. What would happen if we adopted this stance, viewing every stumble as a step, every scar as a story? Could we untangle ourselves from the past's grip and embrace growth without trepidation? Consider practical advice drawn from Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who ruled with remarkable calm, often wrote to himself in his journals. His meditations remind us that the mind is our greatest ally, albeit sometimes our fiercest adversary. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What might change in our lives if we internalized such a principle, especially when the world outside shifts like sand beneath our feet? Think about the relationships around you, the people who seem to hold on tightly to what you've been rather than what you could become. Are they protectors, shepherding you away from imagined dangers, or are they unwitting captors, ensnaring you within comfort zones that strangle true growth? The comfort of familiarity is potent, isn't it? It's a soft, warm cloak against the chill of uncertainty. But what we perceive as safety can often lead to emotional paralysis, a reluctance to step out and embrace the unknown. Imagine a bird perched on the edge of its nest. To leap is terrifying. The sky is vast and uncharted. Yet, remaining motionless, clinging to the nest, denies it the exhilaration of flight. Likewise, clinging to comfort zones in our relationships or within ourselves can sedate the soul's innate curiosity. Now, let's examine further the dynamics at play in these zones of comfort. When we become too comfortable, the cushion beneath us can become a prison, stalling momentum. Contemplate your own life. Which cozy corners have you inhabited for too long? Are they relationships, jobs, or even identities that no longer serve your growth but continue to offer a false sense of security? What if we approached life with an artist's eye, recognizing that personal growth is an act of constant reinterpretation? When the brushstrokes of our lives seem pale, isn't it our responsibility to add color, to reshape, to revisit those spaces in which we dwell? What if the comfort zone, rather than being a place to retire, was a canvas from which to launch anew? Ponder, too, the notion of emotional paralysis these comfort zones can induce in relationships. In our bid to remain unchallenged, do we sometimes freeze our potential to connect more deeply with others, to convey our genuine selves? The fear of vulnerability, of being truly seen and known, can feel insurmountable. How many times have you chosen silence over speaking your truth to avoid the discomfort of potential discord? In the end, what might we achieve if we embraced the discomfort and allowed ourselves to evolve continually, drawing on whatever background we have? Stoic wisdom, personal history, and future possibilities? How transformative could life become if we not only stepped beyond our self-imposed boundaries, but also catapulted ourselves into the unknown with a keen sense of curiosity and adventure? As we draw to the end of this exploration, it's crucial to pause and reflect on the journey we've undertaken together. Throughout, we've grappled with the narratives that bind us, the whispered stories that frame our lives, often without us realizing it. These narratives, these invisible scripts we inherit or create, shape our perceptions, guide our choices, and sometimes keep us prisoner to a version of life that is no longer ours. It is here, at the intersection of awareness and change, that we find the profound insight. The stories we live by are not immutable. They are crafted, reshaped, and sometimes entirely rewritten as we break free from their confines. Much like a snake shedding its skin, there comes a time when we must let go of the old layers to emerge renewed and more aligned with our truest selves. But why is it so difficult to let go of these outdated stories? Perhaps it is because they provide a semblance of comfort, a familiar lens through which we see the world. Or maybe it's fear, the fear of the unknown, of stepping into a future uncharted. Changing the narrative requires courage, a willingness to venture into the wilderness of possibility without a map. Yet, isn't this where the magic lies? In the dance of uncertainty, we find the sacred space for transformation. Imagine the caterpillar in its chrysalis, surrendering to the dark embrace of dissolution, trusting that it might emerge with wings. As you ponder this, consider the narratives you hold dear. Are they serving you, or merely serving to limit what you could become? Do they resonate with your authentic self, or do they echo someone else's expectations? Allow yourself the freedom to question, to challenge, and, most importantly, to evolve beyond them. And as we reflect on this evolution, we see the immense importance of releasing that which no longer serves us. Life, in its essence, is change. Seasons turn, tides shift, and people grow. The stories that once fit us like a glove might now feel like a constricting mold. How liberating it is to realize that we are not static characters bound to a predetermined plot. Instead, we are dynamic, capable of shaping our destiny, sculpting the narrative that feels most true. Empowerment lies in realizing that the pen has always been in your hand. The ink is your will, and the canvas, your life. Yes, there will be periods of doubt, moments when the path seems uncertain, but therein lies the beauty of human resilience. We are not defined by our setbacks, but by our capacity to rise again, to spin a tale of growth amidst the stumbles. Imagine, if you will, a bird in a cage for so long that it has forgotten the vastness of the sky. When finally set free, it might hesitate at the door, unsure of the wide expanse beyond. But once it takes flight, it learns again the joy of soaring, the exhilaration of forging its own path through the open air. Such is the heart that chooses renewal over stagnation. As we conclude, I challenge you to reflect on who you permit to define your narrative. Is it the voice of doubt, the echo of past failures, or is it the whisper of encouragement, the call of undiscovered potential? Who writes your story? This introspection is not merely an intellectual exercise, but a heartfelt invitation to continue growing, to embrace life's resilience as an ally in your journey. The road ahead is yours to chart, with all its twists and turns. Embrace it fully, knowing that within you lies the power to redefine and reshape, to create and to make meaning of your existence in ways that are profoundly personal and uniquely yours. Let these reflections linger like the notes of an unfinished symphony, inspiring you to compose the next movement. With each choice you make, with each belief you hold or release, you breathe life into the ongoing narrative that is your story. In your hands, may it become a tale of unfolding potential, limitless in its possibility and rich in its promise. And so, as we part, I leave you with a question, a gentle nudge into the depths of your own introspection. Who will you choose to be the author of your life's narrative?